What's good? It's Woog. Waxahatchee is about to release a new album called Tiger's Blood. This album's going to drop March 22nd. And anytime I hear that there is a new Waxahatchee release, I get pretty excited. To be frank, this is one of my favorite indie rock, folk rock, even alt country-ish if you consider her last album, St. Cloud, and her collab album after that with Jess Williamson under the name Plains. Kind of leaning alt country in those last couple projects, but Waxahatchee by and large is one of my favorite artists of the past, I would say 10 to 12 years. And Waxahatchee is basically, it's a girl named Katie Crutchfield, and she actually has a sister who also performs, Allison Crutchfield. But Katie Crutchfield, aka Waxahatchee, she's been making music for a while now. She's also been, dating Kevin Morby for like a few years. And when Katie Crutchfield first dropped, she dropped an early album, American Weekend, but her breakthrough album was a couple years after that. So she dropped American Weekend in 2012. 2013, she drops Cerulean Salt. That album started to get on a lot of those Pitchfork-ish best of the year, in that case, 2013 lists. So it was really Cerulean Salt that put Waxahatchee on the map, at least, in the wider indie genre. And then she dropped an album called Ivy Trip in 2015. That is still probably my favorite Waxahatchee album. To me, that one just from top to bottom, it has so many just sublime moments. Even the production, it's somewhat electronic. It even has kind of grunge rock moments. She was a lot rockier in those days, and it's very her voice, I would say it's a little bit of an acquired taste. I think she's got a very, very good voice, but it's not this crystal clear and pure voice. It's almost got a scratchiness to it. It's got a harshness to it. It's a rough around the edges voice. And there's just something about that soulfully that just kind of jumps out. I mean, Janis Joplin had that in her own way. Katie Crutchfield has that, but in a different way. It just sounds somewhat worn, not so much in a Karen Dalton. Give her a look. Or a listen. Karen Dalton, she's a 60s, 70s singer who actually sounds a little bit like Billie Holiday. Katie Crutchfield's different. It's tough to quite put my finger on what that attribute, that vocal attribute is. The best way I can describe it is there's a little bit of a scratchiness, but also when I think of scratchiness, I think of other artists too, like Hop Along. Listen to Hop Along. There's a scratchiness to that lead singer's voice. Her name is Frances Quinlan. But yeah, Katie Crutchfield, Waxahatchee, very good catalog. As I said, 2015's Ivy Trip is my favorite. Even some of the more down-tempo styles of production, it just hits hard because her vocal lines are so stark and are so felt that even when there's just like a synth key that's being held or like a little synth passage that's being repeated, it's kind of intensified by the wailing of her voice. So if you are already a Waxahatchee fan and you're a Waxahatchee fan because of her album 2 albums later, St. Cloud, that was kind of like her biggest breakthrough moment. I said that Cerulean Salt was her breakthrough, but St. Cloud is where she really just took that next big step in terms of notoriety and reputation. So Ivy Trip dropped in 2015, give that a listen. And then she had Out in the Storm in 2017. That is kind of seen to be her recovery album. And if you listen to the song from that album, Recite Remorse, you can hear what I'm talking about. But that's a very good album too. I didn't like it as much as Ivy Trip, but it was her album 3 years later, St. Cloud. Now this dropped in March of 2020. What do we know about March of 2020? That was the same year as the COVID shutdowns. A lot happened. And basically, she dropped her album right as the shutdowns were taking place. So she wasn't able to tour that album when it dropped. And I remember this happened to a lot of artists. It happened to Phoebe Bridgers, who had just dropped Punisher a couple months after COVID. So I think that one dropped like in June of 2020, and she wasn't able to immediately tour that album. Obviously, her career has rebounded. She had a successful tour after that. And then obviously with this boy genius supergroup with Julian Baker and Lucy Dacus, the rest is history. Phoebe Bridgers is kind of like that new indie it girl. I mean, she's even performed on SNL. But Waxahatchee dropped St. Cloud, and to me, musically, that was like her moment. And so she had to postpone touring that. But I remember her and Kevin Morby Great catalog. Listen to Kevin Morby's music, but they were doing like, you know how a lot of artists were doing those Instagram live videos where they would just play like acoustic sets and stuff like that. Well, Kevin Morby and Waxahatchee were doing a lot of that during the summer and spring and fall of 2020. So, you know, I actually went to the concert that Waxahatchee had in late 2021 when she did start doing a lot of shows again, and she ended up touring a lot after that concert that I went to. But the one that I went to, it was in Los Angeles. It was at the First Congregational Church. It's like near downtown, not quite in downtown, but near downtown. And it was basically like in this, you know, old historic church. And, you know, we were sitting in pews, and it was a very good concert. I mean, oh man, like again, her voice is just something to behold. It's got its own unique qualities to it. And she went through a lot of her catalog. She went through some songs from Cerulean Salt, Ivy Trip, and down the line. And obviously she did, you know, some of the best standout songs from St. Cloud. In fact, she probably did most of that album. You know how when an artist is touring, they'll do like 50% of the set will be the new album, and then 50% would be scattered among their other albums in their discography. Well, Waxahatchee, she did like Oxbow. That's the album opener. Very good song. She did Can't Do Much, Fire, Lilacs. Lilacs is a very good one. That's actually what inspired, I think, this shirt. And the Lilacs, Drink the Water. She did, I believe, Hell, which is a good one. Arkadelphia, probably did Ruby Falls. I know she did the album Closer, which is one of my favorite from her in her whole catalog. And it's the title track, St. Cloud, just a very stripped down ballad. Beautiful, beautiful song. Listen to that one. And listen to when it gets to the chorus, that do, 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 do. Oh man, I just get chills. It's remarkable. But she also did the deluxe extension song from her album, which is a cover of Dolly Parton's Light of a Clear Blue Morning. I think that's what Waxahatchee closed the concert with. But yeah, I'm just super excited when I saw this news about her upcoming March 22nd release for Tiger's Blood. She also dropped a new song and video called Right Back to It. I actually just gave that one a listen. It's kind of, you know, country-ish, folk-ish. It's featuring MJ Lenderman of Wednesday, who's been kind of having a breakthrough, you know, year to 2 years. He just dropped a live album a few months ago, and his band Wednesday had one of the best, or at least like most critically acclaimed rock albums of 2023. Called Rat Saw God. That one got a lot of props in 2023. So yeah, MJ Lenderman is on that Waxahatchee song, Right Back to It. And this is going to be Waxahatchee's first solo album on her new label, Anti. My uncle actually worked for Anti Records. It's kind of a pairing of Epitaph Records and Anti Records. But I know that Waxahatchee, prior to being with Anti, and I think that Plains album, the collab with Jess Williamson, I think that was on Anti as well. But before that, she was on Merge Records. So yeah, this is going to be her solo Anti debut, and I can't wait. Again, this is one of my favorite artists in that folk rock, indie rock space. So please give her a listen. If you are already a Waxahatchee fan, let me know what you think of her music. Let me know which album of hers is your favorite. Again, I still have to go with Ivy Trip. As much as I like St. Cloud, as much as I like Cerulean Salt before Ivy Trip, Ivy Trip to me, that just hit the sweet spot, beginning to end. There's so many different moments that just capture me. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Waxahatchee in the comments. What do you expect from this upcoming Tiger's Blood album? I can't wait. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.